I'm Teresita Blanco Diaz's sister, and we're reading Saturnastra Rimaru. This is chapter 4, part 1, The Pet. The store owner called it a lyra, and in other parts the lyra was known as the kinkakul. It had been recently returned to the store after biting deeply onto its owner. And where Barbara poked at the cage, the lyra emitted a loud screech as it tried to claw at her. And the creature had a round head, large eyes, a short pointed snout, short limbs, and a long prehensile tail. And the creature was about 7 months old. And Barbara asked the seller, "Does that thing have a name?" "It answers to Varlet," said the seller nonchalantly. "How droll. I will take it. Give Rabbit for me, why don't you?" said Barbara. "The cage costs extra, but I could just tie it up for you," said the seller. "Fine, put it in a nice cage and put a ribbon on top of it or something," said Barbara. At the end of the day, Barbara ended up spending more for Varlet's successories than for the pet itself, and when Barbara arrived home, she found Amos working in the garden, and he was whispering to the flowers a bit, and Barbara said, "I got you a little something for you while I was out. You can pick it up in the kitchen." "Thank you, Barbara, you shouldn't have," said Amos, while he wished that she really hadn't gotten him anything. "Don't send me just yet. Go see your gift," insisted Barbara. Amos came to the kitchen and he found the little Varlet sleeping inside his cage. And Varlet was about 69 centimeters, the tail included. And Amos was at first confused, but then he looked quite pleased, and he said to Barbara, "So you remember my birthday?" "Yes, of course. I have been so busy lately, but not too busy as to not to look for a present for you. After all, I must be quite foolish indeed to not know when my own husband was born," like Barbara. She was never the type of lady to remember other people's birthday, but was usually peeved when others forgot hers. "I just don't know when her husband is born." She added, "By and by, the guy from the store says that the little critter eats mainly fruits, which we have a lot of in the garden, especially the avocados, the mangoes, and tulips. And the thing is more active after sunset, so it is perfect for a night owl such as yourself." "Wow, you really do surprise me sometimes, Barbara," said Amy, staring at little Varlet. "This is such a time for gifts. Just because we're not related by blood, nor actual friends, or even acquaintances, doesn't mean that I do not care for you." That's her mean way of saying, just because we're not like, that's just very, just because you're nothing to me, doesn't mean that I don't care about you. "If you ever wish to speak with me in earnest, you know where to find me," said Barbara, starting to gather the ingredients to make a fruit cake. The fruits she used were dried apricots, red and green maraschino cherries, raisins, pecans, and walnuts. And the final ingredient she added to the cake was rum, which the fruits were soaked in before being baked. And lastly, she added some powdered sugar before storing the cake away. And Amos wanted to wait to see if his brother would arrive. And in the meantime, he moved Violet to his bedroom, and he put a thin cloth over the cage to make it darker for Violet, who was still napping. And by noon, Amelia had returned home, and when he came to the kitchen, he saw his wife taking the cake out of the oven, and then she added plenty of powdered sugar over it, and smiling, Amelia said, "Oh, my dear wife, you actually remember this year. What is the occasion? Do you want something?" "You remember my birthday this time. Do you want something, wife?" "I don't need a reason to spoil my husband and his little brother," said Barbara as she continued powdering the cake. There was a slight smile painted on her face. "Where is Amos?" asked Amelia. "He's fooling about in the garden. Sativa's visiting today, and Amos needs him to translate for him," explained Barbara. "I have seen a lot of weird things this past week, and even now I still think Sativa is a charlatan," said Amelia. "Takes one to know one," mumbled Barbara. "Did you say something, honey?" asked Amelia, smiling. "Nothing at all," said Barbara, giving an exaggerated smile. Amelia trembled a little, and knew Barbara was up to something again, and she always mumbled and had funny looks whenever she had done something naughty. And before meeting his brother, Amelia looked about his room for a trap or something, and he even checked a couple of empty rooms to see if Barbara had stolen another kid. And he had married Barbara in part because she said she did not want to give birth to children, and had been divorced a couple of times due to her supposed sterility, and he had not counted on the wife desiring to adopt eventually in the near future. And she was even starting to drink wolf milk for fertility, and Amelius did not even know who started the rumor about the wolf milk, but the gimmick was starting to take a decent chunk out of their budget. That she started to drink wolf milk to see if she became fertile. And it's like, no, I married her because she didn't want kids and she couldn't have kids. What do you mean she wants kids suddenly? Ah! Yeah. When he saw that everything was the same, he breathed a sigh of relief, and he returned to the kitchen and he saw his wife from a sideways angle, and she did not look any pudgier. So at least he did not have antlers, or the wolf milk was not working. And at the same moment, Amis returned to the kitchen, and Amis said to his brother, "Hey, you're finally back. Look, I got you some day jobs and night offers. And even Rimaru has something for you to do," said Amelius. "Well, I am all for making a little extra cash." "Which is the fellow offering the most money?" asked Ami. "Rimaru, naturally, but he's a bit of a diva, and he won't need you every day. And I talked with him, and he will never ask you to do anything you don't want to," explained Amelius. "Great, that sounds great," said Ami, shaking his head sadly. And he added, "Does he need me today?" "He said you can come whenever you want," said Amelius. "Great, that sounds pretty neat," said Ami, not too excited about his new job. Time go?
70 minutes.
The twins and the wife had their many birthday, and close to that the mailman came, and Amelius got his usual large correspondence and gift boxes. As for Ami, he got his usual birthday letter from his mother, and the short letter came with a back note worth 1,000 gold coins. And Amelius' letter from his mother was usually a lot longer, but had no money. And while looking at his letters, Amelius noticed that a couple of his regular pen pals had not written, and he worried a little, but then he smiled when he saw his brother's friends knocking at the door. So while Amelius had his full birthday party, Amis and Barbara left for their sewing circle, and before getting into it, Amis thought it would be a good time to feed his varlet. And he placed a couple of ripe latte mangoes through the bars of the cage, and Violet opened his eyes a little yawn, and then he went to sleep again. And that day in the sewing circle, the ladies were making tiny dresses for their pets, and after doing an eyeball type of measurement, Amis made tiny shirts for Violet, and one of the youngest girls in the sewing circle started speaking with Amis, and she had a pet as well. And after describing the pet, it turned out that they had the same animal. And smiling, the little lady told Amis, "The real name of the critter is a kinkajou, and it came from a different country, and they are mostly active at night, which is perfect because he sleeps when I do." "I don't get much sleep either at night," said Amis. "And I get plenty of nightmares, but for some reason, as the sun comes, I get more relaxed, and then I sleep soundly till noon. If I am feeling really anxious, I try to wake up around 11. "Stores should be more accommodating with their schedules," complained the little lady. "It all sounds well and good, but there's a reason why catalogs exist. It is unfair for stores to accommodate for a small minority of people who are not early birds," interjected Barbara. The sewing circle eventually finished its meeting, and when they departed, Barbara and Amis and Amelius had their dinner, and as soon as dinner was concluded, Amis went to check up on Varlet. And Amelius got up and he sat at his listening table to spy on his brother, and Barbara said somewhat dejected, "So you're not going to help me with the dishes today?" "Well, it's my birthday, you know," said Amelius. "Ah, yes, of course. How silly of me to forget," said Barbara, frowning. "Do you have a present for me?" asked Amelius. "The cake wasn't enough of a present," asked Barbara. "Well, the cake is a given, but it is tradition to receive a little something else," insisted Amelius. Barbara left the dishes, and then she took Amelia's coin purse, and she then took out 5 golden coins, and she handed it to her husband, and smiling coyly, she said, "Here you go, don't spend it all in one payday." So you saw that she took her husband's own money, and she gave it to him. Here's your present. Because they're married, his money is my money, so you gave him a present. She just gave him money of his own money. You get me?
Yeah.
You get the joke?
Yeah.
Alright. The little interchange was quickly ended when they heard a screech coming from Ami's bedroom, and frowning, Ami said, "By the God, she's really hurts, you know." And Alice bandaged his hair with a handkerchief, and in the meantime, the little badger had fled out of the window and into the garden, and Amelius asked, "What happened?" "Oh, nothing. My present escaped before biting me," said Ami, pouting. "Wait, your what?" asked Amelius, confused. I thought Barbara told you well, Rimaru. And you guys can argue about my pet while I'm out. Said, I miss Adam was looking at the carpet, and I'm sorry I ruined your pretty carpet. And after apologizing, Amis ran out of his room. It's just like since Bartlett beat him, he bled on the carpet. And then he ran out, and then the pet ran away. When he got to the garden, he saw Bartlett fooling around a nearby tree, and a cold wind passed by, and the Bartlett left the tree, and he came to stand at the foot of Amis. And the critter started climbing up his leg before eventually coiling inside the inner pocket of Amis's coat. And Amis took a couple of mangoes for Bartlett, and then he headed out. And by the time he got to a corner, he realized that he did not know where Rimaru lives. And then he saw a little fairy passing by, and he asked the fairy, do you know where Rimaru lives? He lives a couple of blocks that way. Look for a dainty three-story house, and you have passed it before, and it is the one that is built like an upside-down pyramid with a flat roof, explained the fairy. Why am I not surprised? I should have guessed as much that a weirdo would live in a weird house, like a house resembles an inverted pyramid. Yeah. Said Amis more to himself. And while Amis was thoughtful, the little bee-type fairy came out to Amis, and she stung him directly where Bartlett had bitten him. And he simply swatted at the fairy, and the fairy said sadly, and this is what I get for trying to help others. You stung me! You call that help, said Amis, shaking his fist at the fairy. And you said, and save you from the tetanus, so you're welcome. Look it up, said the fairy, departing. So like the fairy, she gave him like the antidote for tetanus.
And then he started swatting on it.
Yeah, and then he was like angry because like the bar, it's not a monkey, it's a lion. When he bit him, he gave her like a tetanus. He gave her like a bad thing that you died from. But then when she struck him with the antidote, he didn't know what an antidote, the tetanus is. Well, so she saved his life, but all he saw was that the fairy stung him. And yes. Bee-type fairies, they got like stingers like bees. Ow! But when they sting you, they heal you, but they also sting you. So it's a very painful healing. Yeah.
It's not as bad as I used anyway.
Yeah. Time?
11 minutes.
Fairies are so weird, said Amis, talking to his little Bartlett. Amis arrived pretty quickly to Rimaru's home, in part because he jogged there, and the night air was cool and he felt like maintaining his form a little. And the house is set in a small plot of land, and the garden was full of vegetation and shade-loving plants, and the position of the house meant that at least all parts of the garden would get some sunlight, even if it was just half an hour. And nearest to the front entrance there were two large bushes of foam flowers, and the little stone steps leading toward the entrance were surrounded by hellebore and witch hazel. And the weird golden flowers seemed to glow against the moonlight. And hanging outside the garden was a maiden in a white dress, and she was sitting in the grass lighting lantern balloons. And Amis from time to time used to see those lanterns flying at night. And he never imagined that the lanterns came from Rimaru's house, and the maiden had her long hair falling over her left shoulder, and the maiden turned her head to look at Amis, and Amis saw in her eyes the light of recognition. Good night, Rimaru, said Amis. Good night to you as well, said Rimaru. Do you ever sleep? asked Amis. I did once a long time ago, but it was far too pleasant, and I would spend entire days just sleeping, and eventually it became harder and harder to wake up. So I called it a day on the sleeping nonsense, explained Rimaru. Do you need help with something? asked Amis. Just with your brother, and he is quite tenacious, and I respect the man who can track me down to another world, and not everyone has the guts to take the plunge, but he came back all the more denser from the experience, commented Rimaru. Yeah, that's my brother for you, a brick for a brain, commented Amis, and he added, at least that is what my mother says about him, though truth be told, he knows more than he lets on, and I remember when we were wee small, he used to pretend to be a fool to frustrate our mother. A fool how? asked Rimaru, lighting up another lantern. Well, for example, when my mother was teaching us how to talk, brother would repeat everything she said just like a parrot, and at times he would pretend to forget his own name, and he would howl like a dog would too. And he never got over old Larry's death, and he was my brother's corgi, and we grew up together, and he died just as Amerius left for war, and brother thinks that he died of a broken heart, and he never forgave himself for causing his death, ranted Amis. Ah yes, old Larry. He was a cardigan Welsh corgi. I'd rather look for a dog, said Rimaru. I am surprised you know of him, said Amis. Well, there are some folks who live to keep up with the lives of animals more so than the lives of the people, said Rimaru. Time?
8 minutes.
Larry's probably the reason why my brother doesn't want a new parents or anything fragile that might die on him, said Amis. More the pity, yes. I just came up with something for you to do. A lot of my fans have been writing plenty of queer letters as of lately, and the answer they seek can be addressed by the next issue of the History Society dedicated to the little ballerina girl, said Rimaru, remembering. Just then little Barley appeared out, and he climbed out and started wandering around a bit through Rimaru's garden as if looking for something. And since he had been raised by a human, he liked the hunter's skill, and still he had some instinct to go by, and eventually Barley caught his prize. And Rimaru and Amis observed the little Barley a bit, and Rimaru suddenly jerked his head as if remembering something. Like this. Ah yes, the stupid ballet people. Here's my response to their query. Amis received the open envelope, and he asked, is it okay for me to read it? Sure, I don't care why. It is going to show up in the papers anyway, so you can read it, said Rimaru with a bored look on his face. Amis opened the envelope, and on the front side there was a letter, and in the back part there was a new sketch of a dainty flat-chested maiden. And due to the low light, Amis did not realize that the person in the sketch was Rimaru, and it was not till he read the letter over the top that he realized that Rimaru was a lady. So you are a lady, asked Amis. I don't see why it isn't yours or anyone else's business, and a nice so dainty flower that would qualify as a lady, said Rimaru. So then why do you pretend to be a man, asked Amis. I don't pretend to be anything. People just assume I am a man because of my voice and the fact that I prefer what you consider manly attires with girl colors like pink and gold, explained Rimaru. And have you ever started inquiring Amis when he was interrupted by Rimaru, shaking her face at him menacingly. Have you ever heard like, what are you about to ask? She said, enough, I grow tired of this topic, and humans tend to get upset by such petty things that do not affect me in the very least. There are so many important issues in the world than what lies between my legs. And if you wish to continue this business arrangement, then pray never bring up the topic ever again, will you, dear? Yes, she is fine. No need to get so serious about it, said Ami. I am a people person, and I want to make others happy, explained Rimaru. That is why all of my concerts are free. So when they throw coins at you, as Ami, it all goes to the owner of the theater and to charities. That's why I sing everywhere, in theaters, bars, stores, parties. I sing everywhere this year, explained Rimaru. Why? asked Ami. Talk to the people of the city, and then you will understand me. That is assuming that you do not find a better use for your time on this world, said Rimaru. Time?
5 minutes, 30 seconds.
The following day, Amis went to deliver Rimaru's message to the Little Doctor Age 9 Theater Historian Society. And with this message, Rimaru was allowed to join the society. Enrique, who had not seen Amis in ages, asked, so how do you get in touch with Rimaru? I know people, said Amis, giving a fake smile. Sure you do, said Enrique. Just watch your back out there. Rimaru's pretty dangerous. She seems pretty benign to me, said Amis. She? So that is how it is telling itself now. There are so many conflicting stories about the fellow. Some claim that the thing is a girl and others a boy, said one of the theater folks. Which brings me back to Rimaru's original point. Who cares? Commented Amis. Just because you are dead from the waist down doesn't mean that the rest of the world lives as you do, Amis, commented Regan. Nah, I did not come to argue with you, Regan, and if you can't be mature about things, then seek out younger targets, said Amis, laughing at him. As with most short fellows, Regan did not take the insult lightly. And Amis really was not aiming to provoke Regan, and he just thought that the entire situation was laughable and juvenile. Enrique was not used to such a plebeian insult and had not been taken seriously, and the reaction that followed was the one done by most nobles who commonly got away with murder or with randomly injuring folks. Enrique animated one of the nearby statues on the shop, and the statue made a swinging motion at the back of Amis's head. And the strike made Amis's brain jumble inside herself a bit, and the strike also caused him to bite down on his tongue. And though a little in pain and disoriented, Amis heard someone approaching. And he heard somewhat the voice of somebody saying, "Serves you right." So like, he made a statue, a solid statue, like slap him in the back of the head. Ow! But yeah, it's a statue. You ever been slapped by a marble statue? It's heavy.
No, that's never happened to me before. Should it?
I don't know.
Has it happened to you? When was the last time you got slapped by a marble statue?
I don't know. It used to happen during Becker's time. The medieval times, that was common. Statues slapping people around. And Don Juan Tenorio, he got beaten up by an animated statue possessed by some dead guy's spirit.
Yeah, that's what you get for peeing in someone's grave. You get a rabbit onto your face.
You get a solid statue coming to pick you up.
Yeah,
Time.
he literally danced on top of his grave, but that's for a different day.
Time.
3 minutes.
When the person drew near enough, his hair turned deep black, and Amit wobbled over to get up, and about to turn around, he stormed out of the shop. And one of the members of the club said to Rickard, "That statue was made of solid stone." "And your point being," asked Rickard. "You could have killed the man," said another fellow. "Nah, it was only a light tap, nothing to worry about. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes home and cries to his brother," said Rickard, laughing. "Are you worried about getting murdered by Amelius?" "Huh. That is something I hadn't considered," said Rickard, growing pale. Alright, so time?
1 minute 30 seconds.
Let's just leave it here. Bye bye and God bless.